It has certainly no relevance to Nigerians. But, you know, the Police Act again, that presently governs the police force in Nigeria, was last reviewed in 1968. So we have a Police Act that is not relevant to the police themselves. It's certainly not relevant to our security needs.
So we've only touched one aspect of the judicial system, the judiciary itself. We've not looked at the officers or the executive arm, it would seem, that needs to work with the judicial system.
Absolutely, absolutely.
How much of a problem is that?
Oh, it's a major problem. You know, we've said severally that if we are going to make progress in administration of justice, all the three arms of government must find common ground to work together. And I know people throw that at us that say, no, separation of powers. But in my view, separation of powers does not mean that the three arms should live in separate islands. If we are going to make progress, it is absolutely crucial that the three arms sit down and agree on what type of justice system we want for the country. We are yet to have that conversation. Now, severally, we've said as a first step, the president must first publish his vision for Nigeria. President Buhari must publish his vision for the administration of justice in Nigeria. That, in my view, is an important step. We have not yet gotten there.
By that, what do you intend to see in the president's vision?
How he sees the judiciary, how he sees the prisons, how he sees the police, putting our, you know, just how he sees the role of the justice system and economic growth. A whole range of ideas that will form the basis of citizens' engagement.
There's very little to be said there. I mean, we recall that statement the president made about the judiciary being his headache. How did you feel when you heard that?
No, I think if you said that, it was an error, and I think they've tried to walk back on that, because it is obvious that, you know, the judiciary is an important arm of government as the executive. But, you know, going forward, yes, they need to have that conversation. Now, I would have thought, you know, that, you know, not only having that, developing his vision, but also bringing together the judiciary and the legislature to sit down and say, look, we cannot achieve, the executive alone cannot achieve the kind of justice system we desire. For example, I will expect that by now we should have a legislative agenda for administration of justice. Now that Justice Onoge has been sworn, has been confirmed, I hope that one of the things he will quickly do, which is not customary, which has not been done before, but I hope that one of the things he will quickly do is to present his own vision for judiciary. Now, no matter what anybody says, the judiciary is not going to be the same. It certainly is not the same again. So what we need, what I think he needs to do going forward, is to undertake far-reaching reforms. Nigeria today does not need the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. We need a Chief Justice of Nigeria. The Chief Justice of Nigeria must have a broad vision of what the country is. There is no continual impediment.
I want to talk quickly now about this, you know, Administration of Criminal Justice Act, because part of the criticism started from the name. You are asking that the Chief Justice of Nigeria, you know, be Chief Justice of Nigeria, not just a name, but in terms of how he reaches out to, you know, the downtrodden, as it were. Now, this act, from the name, it already started getting criticism. They say it's an act to make provisions for the administration of criminal justice and for related matters in the courts of Federal Capital Territory and other federal courts in Nigeria 2015. It seems to restrict its
but know that what we did is a best practice legislation. So absolutely, the Administration of Criminal Justice Act applies to the Federal Capital Territory. But don't forget that even before the act was passed, Lagos State had already passed the Administration of Criminal Justice law in Lagos State. So indeed, the Federal Act takes its bearing from the Lagos State Act. As Attorney General of Ekiti, Ekiti became under my watch, became the second state to pass the Administration of Criminal Justice law.
But every state now has to domesticate this very important law, it would seem.
Absolutely, yes. To take what it's relevant to that state and put it and absolutely, yes. That is the only way it's going to work.
Isn't that an impediment by itself?
I don't think so. Don't also forget that not all our states are the same. The 36 states are not the same in terms of endowment, in terms of resources, what have you. So, I think it actually is a good thing that states will look at, useful federal laws, particularly this law, and begin the process of, trying to see how it makes sense to its own people, to local people.
Well, people say that this act, I've read through it, some of them say it's quite ambitious in terms of the provisions that, it makes. But, let's even take the first one, promote efficient management of criminal justice institutions. One of the areas, they have a problem with is the fact that the judiciary is not seen as a financially independent body. We know that I think it was Olisa Agbakugba who went to court, SAN, who went to court to try and enforce the judiciary be, first line charge, receive its money, first line charge. And he won that case, but to enforce it was another kettle of fish. A lot of states said they could not enforce it, was not enforceable, as it were. Now, how would you say, or in what way would you say that a lack of financial independence impedes the efficient management of criminal justice institutions?
It's a major problem. But don't forget that we never said that the Administration of Criminal Justice Act will solve all our criminal justice problems in Nigeria. We never said that. What we sought to do is to create a basis for discussion, to show what can work, what should work. And yes, there are a number of issues. For example, I'm concerned that 2 years down the line, we have, despite all the speedy trial provisions, if you like, in the Act, we have a prison population, a total prison population in Nigeria of 65,000.
Which is what we're going to come to, just after this break. I'm going to have to interrupt you just a moment. We'll take a break now. When we return, as you just said, over 80% of the inmates in Nigeria's prisons are said to be awaiting trial. Does this act offer any hope for them? Don't go away.